Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino, and we are back here today for something very special. You know, for years, many have said Hollywood is intellectually bankrupt and all they do is just reboot and remake the same IP over and over and over again. And to that, we say, bet.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to be back here talking about a scripted TV with a guy who knows a thing or two about the scripted TV. It's Josh Wigler. Josh, how are you?
Oh my God, Rob, we back, baby. Welcome back.
Yes. Okay.
Welcome back. That's the theme song to Welcome Back. Wombat coming to a podcast. Not coming. No, we've got other shows, but that's not one of them.
No, we have to. People are going to be very confused, and we have to try to keep the fake announcements to a minimum here.
Okay, got it. Yes.
As
Straight
we
face
are
here.
all set here to bring you our brand new arm of RHAP. RHAP, we know scripted TV here, where you will hear all of our coverage of scripted TV here on RHAP, and I'm so excited to be back collaborating with. There's no other person that I would want to do this with, Josh Wigler. Josh, so nice to have you back.
It's great to be back. I have two questions. One, did we settle on an arm? Because I thought a leg was still up for negotiations. And two, like, J.J. Abrams calls and says, like, Rob, this is my J.J. Abrams impression. Rob, you're so good at what you do. I would love to do scripted TV podcasting with you.
I'll
but
tell
that
you something.
dastardly Josh Wigler cannot be involved. He's talked too much
JJ,
about Lost.
I gotta be
it's
honest,
weird. It got weird.
Let me tell you a thing or two,
weird.
J.J. Abrams. Here's the difference between you and Josh Wigler. Okay, J.J., you
One,
got
Josh
a
doesn't have glasses anymore.
Yes, Josh doesn't have glasses anymore. But you, J.J., have a little bit of a reputation for you play it too safe. I like a guy who takes some risks.
Yeah. I never seen J.J. Abrams flamethrower a bridge before, you know, like.
JJ,
show me that, JJ.
Look, I need somebody in this job that doesn't go by the book.
Yeah. We're going to throw the book out. And this is sort of this new podcast venture, Rob, is not unlike the great, perhaps even underrated 1980s Arnold Schwarzenegger movie Commando, in which John Matrix.
Oh, I am wearing underwear.
You are. I'm not. John Matrix is pulled out of retirement to deal with a crisis, and only John Matrix can come out of the woods and take this thing down. And after years on the bench, he hops right back in, saves the day. He like punches a dude on the airplane. He tells this one guy, he's like, I promise I'll kill you last. And then like he like gets him to tell all the information and says, hey, Sully, remember when I told you I would kill you last? I lied. And then he drops him off a cliff, and there's many more people that he goes out and kills. This is kind of like that. This is scripted TV on RHAP's Commando moment. We are covering scripted TV Commando style. That's the plan here, Rob.
All right. I think that's a choice for the marketing of this, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
scripted TV has gone commando isn't going to catch fire.
It might. It might. Yeah. Especially on X, previously known as Twitter.
Listen. I'm just trying to play to the people who shall tell me what kinds of pics are in their profile every time I send an X.
Yeah.
Okay. We're trying to bring new people in, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
All right. Well, here we're going to talk a little bit about what Josh has been working on in terms of a lineup that we're very proud of. Just to give a little bit of the backstory for anybody who may not have known what was going on here. Just to go to the way back in 2014, Josh and I and a few other talented folks. We got together to create a new place to do scripted TV podcasting that was a sister network to RHAP. Post-show recaps had an incredible run between 2014 and the beginning of 2024, but we wanted to bring everybody back home together in one place. And so now we're going to continue scripted TV podcasting, maybe in a smaller, tighter focus.
Yeah, man, we were like in a mansion before. What is this place? What is this dump that you've relegated us to here?
Yeah.
I know that there's not as many people, but like we could have had like an extra bathroom.
RHAP is like a multi-family home, okay?
Yeah.
So rather than living next door, we invited
you put us on like
TV
a tiny house on the
to,
property.
No, to move in upstairs.
This is great because in the sitcoms, I always loved when someone lived upstairs. Like the years of Full House when Uncle Jesse and Becky had like the attic with Nikki and Alex.
Yep.
When they were like babies first, and then they got their like little strange little 90s beetle hair. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And those were some of my fondest memories of Full House. So I do love this notion that scripted TV is in the attic of RHAP, because also doesn't that technically mean we're on top?
Yeah. It's hot up there.
It's hot.
It gets hot.
There's no AC. We have to turn it off because we have to hit record, and
you gotta have
it.
good levels. Yeah. So that's what we're here to do. And so we've got a big TV show coming back, maybe the biggest that's out there in 2024. House of the Dragon is going to be coming back onto HBO and Max also starting next week. So Josh, we're here. We're ready to go.
We're here. We're ready to go. It's been very, very exciting behind the scenes over here. The last several months of hanging out with Rob and many of the
More
members.
than seven.
More than several. The last 7 months behind the scenes have been wonderful. Like the kingdoms, the several kingdoms of Westeros is what we're about to embark into. It's been such a pleasure. It's felt really classic getting to plan shenanigans with you again. And I loved the shenanigans we got into on post-show recaps. Those 10 years are precious to me and are the bedrock upon which this next act is built. And we are really, really, really thrilled about the lineup that we have for our opening scripted TV lineup here on RHAP as we're dipping our TOES back into the podcasting ponds over here, Rob.
Okay, so here's what we're doing. Of course, the feed that many of you are already subscribed to, you want to double check and make sure you have We Know Scripted TV. If you were subscribed to Post Show Recaps, you're subscribed to We Know Scripted TV.
That's right. The original Post Show Recaps feed is now RHAP, We Know Scripted TV. We are officially RHAP, baby. And there was like some questions about, but wasn't Post Show No, Post Show Recaps was its own separate venture. We are now RHAP. We are all living in the same house, and we are having a delightful time doing so. If you were subscribed to the Post Show Recaps main feed, you are now subscribed to RHAP, We Know Scripted TV. You'll get the new lineup from all of us, so you don't have to do a thing. You want to seek out RHAP, We Know Scripted TV on your podcast player of choice if you are not yet subscribed. We also have our big subscriber hub at robhasawebsite.com/scripted, so you can see how the many ways that you can subscribe to the We Know Scripted slate. And if you are suddenly like, oh my gosh, they raptured post-show recaps. It was like the leftovers, Rob, except instead of like 2% departing, it's like 2% stayed. Not even 2% stayed. We had the PSR epitaph that's still in the feed, and then everything's out of the main feed. All of those individual show-specific feeds still exist. They should be unimpacted by this. What's more, postshowrecaps.com has every single episode of Post Show Recaps ever, unless something fell into a black hole, which I guess is not totally impossible, but that's a rare occasion. There is 10 years worth of podcasting still on that website, so at any time you want to go and check that out, you certainly can. But for the main feed for scripted TV now, it is robhasawebsite.com/scripted.
I'm very excited to get going here.
It's going to be very fun. We've got a really fun. Would you like to hear about the lineup, Rob? I have a presentation actually that I would like to do for you, if that's okay.
Yes. Okay. Boy, this is
All
like
right.
being.
Can we turn out the lights? Jess.
Oh, Royco Waystar shareholder. Did I get that right?
Yes, Living Plus. Yeah, this is like a Waystar Royco sort of presentation. The great Jessica Sterling from Post Show Recaps fame, behind the scenes producing these podcasts. Let's just turn off the lights. Thank you. Okay, all right, lights are out. Appreciate it. You can watch all of these podcasts, the scripted TV podcasts. There's YouTubes.
Wow.
We're gonna be doing video, Rob.
Yeah.
We're gonna be doing video.
Hey, you're in RHAP now. We do video.
This is what I heard, and it was initially very nerve-wracking for me. But as time went on, I got very excited about the possibilities because, as you mentioned, a very, very major show is about to start up. And as we were eyeing the return of scripted TV podcasting, Rob, we had these dragons in mind because we may know nothing normally in our lives, Rob, but for our sins, we know Game of Thrones.
Wow.
We do know Game of Thrones. And so Game of Thrones podcasting returns to RHAP for the June 16th premiere of season 2 of House of the Dragon in the We Know Game of Thrones podcast feed, which if you're already subscribed to the Game of Thrones post-show recaps feed, you are subscribed to We Know Game of Thrones. Rob, can you believe that you and I have been talking about the Game of Thrones franchise for at least 10 years at this point?
It's pretty amazing. We got going right at the beginning of season 4. We saw little Joffrey die very early on.
Yeah.
And what a ride it's been since then.
Yeah, well, don't forget there's a little
had
Joffrey.
He lived, would be 38 years old.
No, that's not true. Is that real? Joffrey? Oh, no way. Joffrey? Joffrey's nearing, he's not even going to be able to be on the 40 under 40 list for much longer.
Yeah.
That sucks. Anyway, There's a little Joffrey on House of the Dragon. We'll be talking about him and many more of the characters as House of the Dragon season 2 is about to pop off. And this is going to be the first show that we are covering in a deeper dive sort of way. We're doing things differently here on the scripted TV effort on RHAP, which we'll tell you about as we unfold this lineup. But we know Game of Thrones, Rob. That's where we're going to start.
We know Game of Thrones. That is our number one Game of Thrones podcast. Of course, that's if you're subscribed to the old post-show recaps Game of Thrones feed, House of the Dragon feed. You're subscribed to We Know Game of Thrones.
You're already there. And if you're not, seek us out or else. Because there's dragons and they're at our disposal. And if you don't sign up, we'll know. And because we know Game of Thrones and we know who subscribed to the Game of Thrones feed or not. So subscribe. You want to do that here at the start of the season. Rob, we have many different ways into Game of Thrones this season. We have 3 different podcasts every week that we're going to be doing.
The dragon has 3 heads?
Yes. And the We Know Game of Thrones has 3, I don't know, microphone heads. That was it. Yeah. Multiple, more than one microphone head because there's multiple hosts across these shows. But how about a little sneak preview of a podcast that's going to be coming into the We Know scripted TV feed later this week from 2 of our hosts who are going to be covering House of the Dragon every Sunday night. You ready for a quick clip?
I think so.
All right, here we go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our House of the Dragon coverage here over at We Know Scripted TV. We know House of the Dragon, and we know Game of Thrones. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and we are here today to run through everything you need to know about Season 2 of House of the Dragon, in advance of Season 2 of House of the Dragon. That includes, we're going to talk about what happened in Season 1, what you need to catch up on, and what maybe we can expect in Season 2 as we head into what I hope will be a very exciting season. I'm with my co-host, Grace Leader. How you doing, Grace?
I'm good. Have you chosen, Taran? Are you choosing? Have you picked which side you're on? That's the big thing of House of the Dragon Season 2. All must choose, Taran.
All must choose, Rob, and we have
choose wisely.
We've chosen the great Taran Armstrong and Grace Leader, who are going to be co-hosting our House of the Dragon recaps all season long. Sunday nights, right after the episodes, live on YouTube. you can watch the video version, and we will turn that podcast around real quick for deep dives. And we've got a really fun season 1 refresher from Taran and Grace that's coming out this week, because I barely remember what happened on House of the Dragon.
I could use
kind
it.
of my job.
Yeah.
You definitely could.
I definitely could. Yeah.
Do you remember anything about?
I remember a few things. Yeah.
You remember that it was it was overwhelmingly
Trying
universally accepted and uncontroversial.
Nobody had any things to say.
No, it was pretty light, the discourse. So this is going to be the first shot on House of the Dragon each and every week, but there are going to be 2 other shots on House of the Dragon. Of course, our good friends over at the Kickback are going to be covering House of the Dragon every week on the Westeros Kickback, Rob. We've got Chappell and Mari Forth talking Game of Thrones each and every week in the first official crossover episode of We Know Scripted TV. As we're crossing the streams with the Kickback, good times.
Yeah, recap Kickback. Chappelle's doing a great job over there, and it's going to be hilarious to hear Chappelle talk about everything going on Game of Thrones. Mari is a real Game of Thrones
legend.
So,
yes.
So that's going to be a very fun combination to get those 2 together at recap Kickback.
Yes. So they're going to be talking about it. Those will be posting on Mondays after the episodes have dropped. And then later in the week, Rob, what is this? This is in my notes. House of the Mermaid Dragon. What is this?
Yeah, what is that?
Okay, so if you're not watching the video version, I guess we should probably describe what we're looking at.
Yeah, may I?
Yeah, please.
So we have it's called House of the Mermaid Dragon. I think that is this a reminds me of one of my favorite Georgia O'Keeffe paintings.
Yes, sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Mermaid Dragon.
Yeah.
I don't. What's that about?
I don't quite understand what we're looking at. I do have here lined
Mermaid Dragon.
What is that? What is that?
Yeah.
Could you play that one more time, actually?
Mermaid Dragon.
Remember that.
All right. Okay. Mermaid Dragon.
Yes, we have a big announcement to make that beloved Survivor 46 contestant Banu is hosting his own show.
Yeah, get hyped. The Banu recap of House of the Dragon is the big crossover. I even know who Banu is. What's happened, by the way, since
we
I've been
delivered. But people said, please give Banu his own show.
What happened to this place while I was gone? He haven't cleaned up in weeks, at least. I have something in here that says Mermaid Preview, so I'm going to hit play on that. Let's see what that is. What's a Mermaid Dragon? I don't even know, guys. Neil Patrick Harris quit that show so many years ago. But because I'm a bro, I'll revisit that show with Robin, Josh, and Thrones. Okay, well, of course, that was our good friend, the late King Neil Patrick Harris, whose ghost sometimes, not unlike Casey Kasem, follows you and I throughout our journeys in Westeros, Rob.
Yeah.
And he's talking about a show that I don't know what he means.
Yeah. Okay. House of the Mermaid Dragon. Every time I think I'm out, they keep pulling me back in. Josh Wigler convinced me to talk about Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, Season 2, every week here on RHAP, We Know Scripted TV, but with a little bit of a twist, where then, after we talk about Game of Thrones, after we talk about House of the Dragon, maybe we talk about the things going on in the discourse around the show.
I think that's likely probably going to be the main way that we talk about this.
Yeah. Then
the deep dives we're leaving for Taran and Grace, for Chappell and Mari, the discourse, and potentially diss tracks.
Diss tracks. Yeah, there would probably be quite a few between the houses. But then Josh and I will discuss Josh's first time viewing of Survivor 46.
Yeah, so I'm going to watch Survivor 46 because I feel like I watched it from a distance. This feels like I read I watched the show first and now I'm going to read the book. Because I watched I watched Survivor 46, actually, Rob.
Yes.
I haven't watched or podcasted in a major way anyway about Survivor since arguably 41, but I would say even 40. It's been a very long time. Used to talk about the show quite a bit. And I don't watch it anymore, not out of any reason other than there's been so many other things to watch lately. But for 46, Rob, I have very still specific filters to just on even on X.com, but perhaps the security measures are not holding as well as they used to.
That's what they say.
I feel like I clocked a lot of Survivor 46 discourse and
you absorbed
diss tracks.
Yeah.
And I'm riveted. I need to see the thing for myself. So I figure if I'm gonna make you watch House of the Dragon, I'll watch some Survivor for you in exchange. This will be the trade.
And we'll do 80%.
We'll see how it goes. Yeah, it's gonna be
a little Survivor at the end.
Yeah, it's gonna be wildly Game of Thrones. It's gonna be a little Survivor at the end. I am sorry in advance if I am not into decoding all of the moves anymore. I'm really more excited to figure out just what was the minutia of Banu like. I want to live through that. I want to try that. I want to.
I'm not an actor.
Yeah, I want to know what that's in reference to. Did a lot of people think, did they look at Banu and they were trying to guess what his jobs were? Or did Banu lie when he hit the beach and he said I'm an actor?
No.
And then in his
we'll
confession,
talk about
I'm not
it.
an
We're
actor.
We're going to do the podcast now.
All right. Okay. So no setup show for that.
It's It's Josh. It's a weekly podcast.
It's going to be fun.
You know what you're getting.
It's going to be ridiculous. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a very good time doing it. No preview show for that. This is the announcement. We will launch into House of the Mermaid Dragon once House of the Dragon starts up. So that's our House of the Dragon coverage, Rob. But we've got a few other very exciting shows that I would like to tell the people about.
Okay.
And this is a little bit of the journey of what it was like to put the We Know Scripted TV podcast feed together. We had we need to Ocean's 11 style. We need to assemble a crew. And we need to assemble a crew of specialists. Not the Could you imagine? Philip probably was one of the okay, I understand the Commander reference. Yeah. So he probably got that.
Yeah.
On a couple of different levels. Although that was one of his problems, right?
He
wasn't really good. Yeah.
His one pair of underwear, that was an issue. Yeah.
I would say that you could say that him just wearing the underwear all the time meant that he wasn't going commando, despite the fact that it would sort of, look like that. Unless he had underpants under the underpants. No, in developing We Know Scripted TV, we had a few different ideas for shows that we wanted to do. Sort of the idea was we want scripted TV on RHAP to be as RHAP as possible, which means one of those things is very deep, fun, reliable, regular analysis of the subject matter. And the subject matter of scripted TV, I don't know if you heard this, Rob, is vast. There's a lot of TV. There's so much TV out there. By the end of post-show recaps' run, we were posting Jessica Sterling in the chat if you want to fact check me. I would say 400 pods a week, roughly, based on all of the myriad TV shows that were happening at any given time. How about with the assistance from two incredible podcasters, how about we eat up as much TV as possible and tell you what it tastes like? Very excited to introduce the Tastemakers podcast. And let's let the host of the Tastemakers explain the concept of this show to you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tastemakers podcast. We know there's too much TV. There's too much to keep track of. What's good? What's bad? What are people talking about? And then by next week, they're already talking about something else. That is where we come in here at the Tastemakers podcast. We are going to keep you up to date on the latest from the TV world and tell you what's worth watching, what's worth skipping. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I am joined with my co-host, Grace Leader. How you doing, Grace?
I'm doing great. I'm ready. I watch a lot of TV, and some of it's good, and some of it's not good. It's bad. It's in fact bad. Taran.
Yeah, some of the TV is, in fact, bad, Rob. The Tastemakers. Once again, Taran Armstrong and Grace Leader sliding into your podcast feeds each and every week with a roundup of what's on TV, what's worth watching, what's worth skipping, different reviews of different shows each and every week, beginning this week with the top 5 TV shows of 2024 thus far, as according to Grace and Taran. Rob.
What are they eating in the silhouette?
The TV. Yeah.
The TV.
I
was going to guess, like, is that a ravioli?
I think that there's, an argument to be made that TVs and raviolis are from the same genre. Because it's a box that's filled with stuff, right? Like it's like an apparatus that's filled with yummy, delicious stuff that I think TV and ravioli, they're basically the same.
TV and ravioli the same?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that's worth exploring as we explore the Tastemakers podcast.
That should be a Twitter poll. Yeah.
Do you want to put that up real quick? No context?
I can.
You could.
Yeah. Okay.
You could if you wanted to. You don't have to. I mean, we've got a lot of business here.
Should I explain it or just like no context?
I think no context is always my favorite. And then, like, in the cold light of day, when people engage this conversation, they may wish that their answer was
not
different.
necessarily the context, but I think you need like that. Would you agree? TV is like ravioli because it's a container.
Yes.
That holds, things that are limited only by your imagination.
Correct. Let us know. You can send an email to the Tastemakers.
Lobster.
Yeah. Tastemakers. Tastemakers.
Sausage. Broccoli Rob.
Tastemakers, RHAP @gmail.com. Send us an email. We would love to hear from you. And which flavor of ravioli is your favorite? I also am interested in. Partly because as we record this, it's lunch. I'm very excited that Taran and Grace are here. Over the years on post-show recaps, Taran made cameo appearances. He was on the Raised by Wolves podcast. He talked to House of the Dragon, would come into the Great DM Philly's Wheel of Time podcast from time to time. And when we were building this out, I said, I bet Taran wants to talk about scripted TV more often. I think that he has a great time doing it. And I think that we're depriving people of not putting Taran on a show where he gets to talk about this stuff. And so over the last several months, we've been working on this show behind the scenes, and it's been incredible. And of course, by the end of post-show recaps, I feel like you put Grace Leader at the center of the poster. She was podcasting like a fiend, like a total maniac, eating ravioli left and right, Rob. And so there was no way we were going to launch back into scripted without Grace along for the ride either. So these two have been working really hard on the Tastemakers behind the scenes. They've recorded a couple of pilot episodes that you'll probably never hear, but you will hear the results of that in their podcasting coming up over the next several weeks. Really fun show, really informative, a great way into so much TV. So I think you guys are all going to really like that one.
I would love a podcast like this. I'm not worried about being spoiled on things I'm not going to watch. I love, like, okay, I didn't have to watch the show. I just got to listen to a podcast where they were talking about that they watched the show for me. So I love the Tastemakers. So excited to see Grace and Taran and see where they go with this.
It's going to be a really fun show. Okay, so that's the Tastemakers, Rob. That's like our classy podcast, right? You heard the piano music. It's like a little Frasier-y.
I got that.
Frasier-ish, right? Rob, let's go to the club. Yeah. Let's bounce.
Okay.
Break open your glow sticks. Twist up and down. Nodding your head. I don't think you're nodding your head enough. Yeah, this is good. Let's let the host tell us what show this is.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to TV for Real, where reality and scripted TV collide. My name is Mike Bloom. I am joined by my co-host for this new venture, Sasha Joseph. Sasha, how are you?
So good. So excited. Who let us do this?
It was us. We let you do this. I think it was us. TV for Real is a brand new weekly podcast hosted by the Maniacs, Mike Bloom and Sasha Joseph in their first ongoing podcast together. I got to tell you, Rob, I'm hyped. I'm very hyped for TV for Real, which was one of the first names for a show we landed on when we were talking all of this stuff through. And I think the premise is actually kind of old. I think it has roots in our original ideas for what post-show recaps could have been in the early days. This idea of like, let's get reality stars talking scripted TV. I feel like that would be a fun thing to do. So that's what TV for Real is going to do. Mike Bloom, Sasha Joseph, both incredible podcasters on RHAP, veterans of post-show recaps, are going to be talking to reality stars each and every week about different episodes of scripted TV, Rob.
Yeah, I think TV for Real is like really at the heart of like what we're trying to do differently, and maybe like in the original post-show recaps conception, I think that the idea was like, hey, like people are going to look down their nose at this Survivor stuff. Who knows if Survivor is even going to be on the air in a year or two from 2014. Survivor 30 is probably going to be the last season. So let's build this other thing that's going to be completely separate, this other institution with a more generic sounding name that we can say, you don't even have to know what any reality shows are. This is this post-show recap. This is this post-show recap. And we tried to like build this whole like separate thing here that this network is being thought of as that, you know, this is the place to go for scripted when you already have found RHAP. And sure, new people may come along and end up listening to some of our podcasts, but I think that there's going to be enough of a flavor of that. We also watch the reality shows also in all these shows. And I think TV for Real is the new show that's going to capture that the best.
Yeah. I think that that's the vibe we're going for. As Mike and Sasha and I were talking about the premise for this show, the word that kept coming up the most was, this is a party. This podcast is party vibes. We're going to have a great time. We're going to bring in some very strange and interesting people that are already familiar to you through all of the shows that are being watched and talked about on RHAP in this different context where they can, you know, kind of just, you know, talk about anything other than the show that lives rent-free in their brains because they experienced it themselves. So, like, what does somebody think about Bridgerton, for instance? Let's bring somebody on board. And what about some deep dives into some of the reality stars and what are some of their favorite shows from across the years? That'll come up as well. So some really fun stuff, some House of the Dragon coverage there as well, but other shows are going to be covered too. Rob, I don't know if you have any insight to share. I think their premiere episode was pretty good.
Yeah. I got the chance to jump on the pilot for TV for Real with Sasha and Mike, and so I had a lot of fun there. So let's see where they go. And really, we could use your help. If you see fun reality people talking about shows on social media, that they're watching a show, that they're loving a show, they're huge fans of a show.
They're Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, let Mike and Sasha know.
Yeah. They need to know as well.
And tell the reality stars, hey, you should talk to Sasha and Mike on TV for Real.
Yes. TV for
That'll
Real.
Get them.
TV for Real. RHAP@gmail.com. Send them a note. Let them know what's going on. Anyone who's out there watching shows from the reality space, give them the heads up. We'll try to make that happen on the podcast. Developing this one has been very, very fun. And I am a huge fan of Mike. Obviously, we've done Down the Hatch together and so much more. I'm a huge fan of Sasha. She and Jason Reed absolutely killed it on the superhero beat in the latter years of post-show recaps. Mike and Sasha together feels unhinged in a holy way. Like, this feels sacred to me, and I'm very, very excited about this. I think this is going to be really, really fun. Okay, Rob, there is one more show that I would like to talk about here that we are going to do in the opening lineup of We Know Scripted.
Is this real life?
This is real. TV for real.
Mm-hmm.
This is a different show than that. This podcast is the one where, because like if you're listening to this, like, Josh, you're only going to talk to Rob once a week, and that's going to be your contributions to podcasting?
You're gonna say like, you're wasting you on Rob?
Yeah, no, we're not wasting me on Rob, but I did have a stipulation in my contract for returning to talking about scripted TV podcasting, and it was not just that Rob would talk about Westeros despite his desires to do anything else, and I will talk about Survivor alongside him. That not only would we do that, but I would require the participation of somebody who I have spent so much time on the microphone with. So what you're about to listen to right now is a teaser from an unreleased episode. We did a lot of test runs in the lead up to We Know Scripted TV. We wanted to get this right. This is an unreleased episode that recorded the other week that maybe someday this one we would remove from the vault. Well, you'll never hear the first one that we recorded. The first one we recorded was bad, actively.
Wow, this is Chekhov's podcast.
Yeah, an actively bad podcast. The legendarily bad first podcast of the weekend program. Which I'm throwing up on the screen right now. Rob, if you just looked at the weekend program art for people who aren't watching the video version, what would you think is happening on this show?
I think that you're co-hosting a podcast with The Weeknd.
Yeah.
Could talk about uncut jams, and all sorts of things.
Yeah. And just like have a bad
You're like
time.
walking through like a house of mirrors.
That could be cool, but I feel like the acoustics would be bad.
But I feel like there's too many E's for that.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think the E's would defy us as usual. Okay, so I want to play this from an episode that we did a test run on. We are going to be recording our official first episode of this podcast in just a couple of days. But let me give you this funky groove that goes alongside our funky artwork for the weekend program. Doesn't it feel like Austin Powers? Do I make you horny, baby? Do I make you Randy Newble? Yeah! There's the recent Benedict Cumberbatch show. It was a thriller, I think, called Eric. You know,
one of the most thrilling
like,
names out there. No,
you
offense
know,
to
that's
Eric.
almost like calling House Gregory.
Yes, yeah.
Just calling it Eric.
How was that spelled? The Eric, was it ERRICK?
No, it's really straight up ERIC. That's it. Eric is the name of the show. What's your favorite show from 2024? Eric.
Eric.
You know, what an incredible thing to say. Just imagine screaming from the rooftop.
Yeah.
What did you do last night? Oh, I stayed home. I was watching TV. Oh, you watched anything good? Eric.
Will Trent.
Will Trent. Eric. That is the return, the glorious return to RHAP from podcast superstar AC Mazzaro, Antonio Mazzaro, co-hosting the weekend program with me every weekend here on RHAP.
I'd love to give it just as a note. I think all of the RHAP We Know Scripted TV podcasts should just be like 60 seconds of theme song, 27 seconds of podcast, and then an outro.
I think that's not bad. We'd be in and out of here quick.
Yeah.
We might be able to go back to the old 400 podcasts a week model that otherwise torpedoed a certain network into the ground. The weekend program, Rob Cesternino, is Antonio Mazzaro and myself. It's our weekendly hangout show where we're going to be talking about all sorts of different TV topics, some of the shows that we are watching here and there. But I think a lot of it is going to be like deep diving into different trends and moments in TV history and things that are happening in the TV space that are of great interest to Antonio and I. Antonio is one of my very closest people on the planet. It is a friendship that was made possible through not just post-show recaps, but RHAP. And Antonio talks about this story, and you talk about this story, Rob, in the podcast that's at the very start of this new feed, the PSR Epitaph. The two of you got to talking about how it was Reality Game Masters, a phone call that really
and that came back too.
Yeah, and that also has just returned. That put you and Antonio on each other's radar and started making some fun podcasts together around Breaking Bad, which led into the Walking Dead pods that you and I were doing on RHAP, which leads to the birth of Post Show Recap. So as scripted TV is returning to RHAP, I wouldn't do it unless Antonio wanted to do it too.
This is so cool.
It's going to be really fun.
This is epic.
Very fun.
Not Eric. So thrilled.
Do you know about Eric? Are you aware of that show?
I knew it was on Netflix. Yeah. From the Nothing But Netflix podcast. But we did not even come up in conversation to potentially explore it. But Josh and Antonio together on a podcast. I'm so in for the weekend program. If the weekend program gets 1 million subscribers, I'm one of them. If the weekend program has 1 subscriber, it's me.
It's me.
And
it's
if the
me.
weekend program has 0 subscribers, then unfortunately I have been disassembled.
Well, I'm not hoping
disassemble.
Yeah, we're not going to disassemble you, Rob. The weekend program is one of our shows. So this is the We Know Scripted TV summer schedule. You've heard the shows. This is how it's going to shake out over the course of a given week across the next several weeks. This is our opening week, so things are going to be a little bit different. But once House of the Dragon kicks off, this is what you can expect from We Know Scripted TV all summer long. We Know Game of Thrones, the House of the Dragon recaps on Sunday nights live after the episodes, posting right away. Make sure you're subscribed to not just the feed, but our YouTube feed as well, our YouTube channel for We Know Scripted TV. All of that can be found in robhasawebsite.com/scripted. So Sunday, Taran and Grace are going to break down, keep track of who's winning, who's losing the war for the Iron Throne. On Mondays, we are going to be going back to Westeros with the Westeros Kickback with Chappell and Mari, talking about all things several kingdoms each and every week, and really leaning in on Mari's knowledge of the lore. She is a keeper of the lore, a maester of the Citadel, is what they say. Tuesdays, the Tastemakers, Grace and Taran are going to get back together. They'll talk about all of the TV they're watching, what you should be watching, what you should be skipping. Wednesdays, TV for real. Mike and Sasha talking to a different guest each and every week in the reality space. This week, Rob is on that show. On Thursdays, we will be doing the House of the Mermaid Dragon. God help us. Whatever that ends up looking like, Rob. I think a fluid situation, I would say, the House of the Mermaid Dragon.
Mermaid Dragon.
I don't know what that is. I knew what it was enough to know that, like, I was like, Rob, is this anything? House of the Mermaid Dragon?
I feel like a fool.
That's sort of how the podcast happened. I said, is this the thing?
Yeah.
And you said, fine. I think you literally were like, fine.
I think it takes.
Yeah,
okay,
I think
fine.
This is pretty close to how it was. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, baby, I'm
right.
in. Whatever. Yeah. This is sort of how the last, several iterations of Rob podcasts about Game of Thrones have come together, I would say. It's all sort of...
I'll be there. All right. I said I was doing it.
And for people who are wondering where 30 Years Greater is, by the way, I think on the other side of House of the Mermaid Dragon, we're going to restart that. So we have some fun ideas for 30 Years Greater, which was the podcast Rob and I were doing on Post Show, where we would talk about movies from the 90s 30 years later. We definitely want to do that again. It's just been very hard the last few months, winding Post Show down, revving this thing up. Not a lot of on the horn. On the other side of House of the Dragon, we're going back to the 90s. It'll be very, very fun.
Okay.
On Fridays, Rob, it's a free space. We don't have any programming for Fridays. If something comes up, that's where it will live. If
It's
nothing
the
happens,
summer.
it's
Josh
the
was like, we
summer.
don't want to work on Friday.
That's kind of
All
how
right,
I feel.
fine.
kind of how I feel.
But after Labor Day,
yes, we're gonna have to put something on Fridays. I think we know scripted summer Fridays. Maybe there will be something that happens there on like the YouTube, some streams. there's a few shows that are coming out this summer that don't fit into these boxes that maybe we will want to hit in some other way. Each and every week will end on Saturday mornings, the weekend program, the hangout show from Antonio Mazzaro and myself, which was deliberately designed as like, sometimes you get to Saturday morning and you're bored and there's nothing new. I need a new thing. Well, if that's you on Saturday mornings, the new thing to save you from your boredom is the weekend program. And Antonio and I are very excited about that one. So that's the lineup, Rob. We have 6 shows to kick us off for the opening weeks of We Know Scripted TV. That's a lot less than 400 podcasts a week. It's a tight, small, short, miniature, but robust and deep and fun lineup of podcasts for the first few weeks. And if you all subscribe and you make this a hit, first of all, my boss will think I look pretty cool. That's thing one. Thing two, in success, this grows out as the months and years progress. So let's all build this thing together. I'm really hyped to get back into it. Rob, I'm very, very thrilled for people to check out these podcasts.
Yeah, this was a great teaser today, Josh, to go through setting up everything. I know that there's probably a lot of confusion about like, wait, what's coming back? What is this? Good job. My eyes. But this was great to walk through it, get a real flavor of what's coming out when, what we can expect, and exactly like the focus of how we're trying to bring scripted TV back to RHAP.
Yeah, I'm really hyped about this. There are so many different shows and so many different people that I wish we were able to work with on this opening lineup, but it's got to be tight in order for it to be done. So we're keeping it at this lineup for now with these people for now. So many people are making incredible shows. Those are linked to in the show notes of that PSR epitaph that I was telling you about earlier. So go if you want other types of scripted coverage. It's out there. But what we're going to do is going to be very, very fun, very specific. And with all the hope in my heart, Rob, it's going to be very RHAP.
Yeah. And I think that the idea here is like, boy, there's a lot of Game of Thrones. Well, that's because Game of Thrones is on right now. And I think that when other shows like of significance come back, we will, eventually stop talking about Game of Thrones so much and talk about other big shows, but not to
There's
the
some
level.
exciting shows coming up this year.
Not to the level that post-show recaps would launch recaps of many different shows that were on TV. There will probably be in a given year 6 or several, shows that rise to that level that will have a dedicated feed and a podcast or two a week about a specific show. But I think that most of our work here on We Know Scripted TV will be done through the Tastemakers and TV for Real and the weekend program and whatever Josh and I are doing on a weekly basis. And if things pop up here or there, a big movie or other things, but we do have a lot of different ways to be able to tackle things that are going on through these ongoing podcasts.
Yeah. And of course, we're very open to feedback along the way. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your reviews, of course, on the feed. We want to hear from you
especially on Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcasts, that's very useful. Your star ratings and reviews will go a very long way here in these opening weeks. So if you've got the time in your day to write a little shindig up, would love to see that. That would be amazing. But beyond that, we want to hear from you online and on the socials and the various patron groups. If you are a patron of RHAP, shouts to the PSR Discord. Let's hear from you as well. I want to hear from everybody how this thing is going, what you would recommend, while keeping in mind, like, we're pretty locked in for the next several weeks. Like, this is, the summer plan is the summer plan, and we've got some plans into the fall as well that are really, really fun and exciting. So, like, things are going to move, but things are going to be really plotted out too, and I'm very excited about that.
But I have found that constructive feedback is the way that I have, really been, directed in different ways over these last 15 years in all sorts of like positive changes. Almost every idea that has come up was, idea that somebody else came to me with, that we worked on how to make it fit and work for the most number of people. And so scripted TV is going to be no exception to that. So we love to hear from you, and it would not be any fun to do this if we did not hear from you.
That's absolutely
really, I'm very excited to go on this journey with you, Josh, especially, but with everybody else who's working on scripted TV, and of course, this amazing community.
Yes, could not be happier to be in this moment. This is really, really fun. It's been a lot of work, and I hope that it pays off because we've been having so much fun working with this behind the scenes. Now you get to listen to all of it, and we get to build this thing together. That's how podcasts are made.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Josh, great job going through it all. Can't wait to.
This is sort of like my
get going.
Kevin Feige does like a Comic-Con panel attempt. I was even wearing my Wogler's Wimbats hat the whole time.
Oh.
The bootleg, yeah. Shout out to Torby.
Yeah.
So like Kevin Feige can't do anything without his hat, and sort of same for me.
Josh, what are we going to hear next? The next podcast in this feed is going to be what?
The next podcast in this feed is going to take you to the Tastemakers. It's the top 5 TV shows of 2024 as per Taran, as per Grace, with potentially a cameo from somebody else at some point in the podcast. It's me. And so you'll really get to listen to what Taran and Grace think of TV, what they've thought of TV this year. It'll give you a sense of what these conversations are going to look like as this show keeps developing out. I'm really excited for you all to check out the Tastemakers. That's next in the feed.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this special presentation. And now you know what's going to go on here at RHAP. We know scripted TV. Josh, thank you so much. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you.